What's up? Usually I say people don't lack information, they lack execution. But in case of Google ads, which kind of no one really talks about on YouTube, and as you know, if no e-com YouTuber talks about it, it's probably something you should try. And I personally believe Google ads are probably the most untapped, thing in e-com overall. Because once again, first of all, no dropshipper really talks about it. When was the last time when you've heard anyone actually, recommending running Google ads for their e-com business on YouTube, right? Everyone talks about Facebook, TikTok, organic, branded dropshipping, supplement dropshipping, but no one talks about actually just running profitable Google ads. And so in this video, I want to kind of break down exactly what the process should look like and what you have to keep in mind when running Google ads. Most people kind of think it's just retargeting, right? Most people think, okay, well, Google ads just, taking people already know who you are and just like kind of retargeting them, showing them your ads. But that's just one part of it. You can actually buy market share, unaware market share on Google too. And I'll get into how. However, you need to understand the basics first. So there's two things you have to keep in mind. First of all, setting up the conversion tracking is a pain in the ass and it's not fun. I use Stake.io for it. I don't recommend using the Google Tag Manager immediately. Never really works. The second thing is the merchant account. This is like kind of the business portfolio or the BM. It's actually possible on Google to create an ad account without having a merchant account. I recommend having one though. The second that your ad account goes down, God forbid, let's say something happens to it, you have no chance to get it back, okay? With a merchant account, it's different. Then you at least will be able to use those audiences from your old banned ad account. On Google, you work a lot more with custom audiences. On Facebook, it's usually recommended nowadays to go like fully broad, no lookalikes, whatever. On Google, it's a little bit different. And so just so you can prepare for it and actually still have access to all those audiences, you should have a merchant account before even setting up your first campaign. And so what is going to be the first campaign that you set up? So this is kind of the campaign structure. So we have Facebook here, we have TikTok here, we have organic here. Imagine one thing, okay? These people on Facebook, on TikTok, on organic, they see an ad of yours. You interrupt their scrolling. This is push marketing, push performance marketing, which essentially means, okay, they have their very first touch point with you, with your brand, okay? So a lot of majority of people actually are not going to buy the first second they see an ad of you, okay? This is just, direct response marketing is really hard to crack. And even if you do crack it, your conversion is going to be super low and your CTR is going to be super low because most people that have their first touch point, it's never enough. Or let's say person XYZ is interested in your stuff. He sees a Facebook ad, right? He's interested in it. He clicks on your store and then clicks off. Let's say person XYZ clicks on your website, then clicks off and Googles you up for, social proof, right? He wants to see more, right? He wants to just find you. And now I want you to imagine one thing. Imagine he Googles you and doesn't find you. He will never, ever, ever give you their credit card information. And you would be amazed how much that actually happens, how many customers you lose just because you don't have SEO and Google Ads set up. This is really relevant. And so the first step that I do is the first campaign that you got to set up is a brand search campaign. It's a search campaign after you set up conversion tracking, your Google tags, and all the ad account stuff is fine. The first thing that you're going to set up is a normal search campaign, and the only option, like the only keyword that you're going to give it is your brand name. And what's going to happen after that is every time someone looks up your brand name, right, you're going to come up first. You're going to be the one that's actually getting the traffic. And you can immediately send them to product pages. That's why it's better than SEO, for example. You can have site links, all this kind of stuff with Google Ads. And so you don't lose out on customers that come from here. Now, I typically don't scale this because this is massive retargeting. This is not something which is scalable. You're not buying new market share here. You're retargeting people. However, the ROAS on a campaign like this is insane. So usually it's about it really depends on how much you're spending on Facebook, TikTok, or like how many organic views you're getting. But let's say you're spending like $500 a day on Facebook and don't have brand search. Well, if you're going to put in like a $20 budget here, it could have a 20 ROAS, and it's crazy because essentially, first of all, the clicks are even though they're a little bit more expensive because it's very aware traffic, what's crazy is that actually no one else targets these keywords, so the CPCs are going to be lower and the conversion is insanely high. Okay, so this works exceptionally well if your product name is already a little bit known and has a little bit of search volume and you're the main competitor. Then this campaign, you can even scale this, okay? That's not the point of it though. So this is just the retargeting, and this already has a super solid ROAS normally, right? Keep in mind, search campaigns take 2 to 3 days to start spending. So don't worry if it's the first Google campaign. Works a little bit differently than Facebook, okay? Second campaign usually is a competitor search campaign. And the only thing that's different than in a brand search campaign is a competitor search campaign. You're literally just putting in keywords of like brand names of other people, right? So brand names of essentially, your competitors, your direct competitors. And what's crazy about this is that you're getting, if you do this right, their Facebook, TikTok, and organic traffic. So let's say they don't have Google ads. Let's say they're the ones spending $500 a day on Google, or no, not on Google, on Facebook, okay? Let's say competitor XYZ spends $500. Now, if someone who, saw their ad, clicked on their website, has nothing to do with you, now Googles them, and you have a campaign running with their brand name as a keyword, then you're gonna get their traffic, right? Of course, a little bit lower conversion rates, a little bit lower click-through rates, but if you do this right, you're going to get a lot of traffic. Once again, a very high ROAS. And so what I would do is I would test a bunch of different keywords of brand, like different, competitor brands. And then after some time, after a couple days of testing, you're going to find winning ones. Sometimes, some competitors just spend more money. Some are just unprofitable. It's just how it is. And then what I would recommend you do is you split them up in different competitor search campaigns. And then in each of these, there's only one keyword, which is only one competitor each. And then what you can do, and the powerful part in that is that the headlines that you actually write, because keywords like search campaigns have headlines, specific headlines. And so you can write like brand XYZ versus your brand name, why we're better. And so you can actually do this very intelligently, which you can't do if you have 10 different brand names in your campaign. So I would do this, and these two campaigns, just to keep in mind, like if you're spending like 500 to 1,000 a day on Facebook and you have a brand search and a competitor search, this can already be enough to make like an extra 1 to 2K a day on Google. Okay, very powerful. Now then we have a cold search campaign. A cold search, this is when we actually start to buy active market share. Okay, so this has nothing to do with our Facebook traffic. Of course, Facebook and all that kind of stuff profits from profitable Google traffic, and they just benefit each other. They supplement each other. So you should always have Google whenever you're running something else. But overall, cold search is just like actually figuring out what the problems and the solutions are that people look for, and essentially trying to catch those, right? So how does this work? Let's say someone wants to lose weight. Well, a brand search campaign would be like your let's say you're selling gym services, or let's say you're a personal trainer or something, right? Then what you would do is you would probably target the brand search campaign as like your name, like literally your name with personal trainer or whatever. Competitor search would be other personal trainers, and then the cold search would be a keyword sentence like how do I lose weight, or how do I get fit for summer, or all these keywords. And essentially it's the same process, but now you're not depending on your or other people's Facebook traffic, but actually buying market share on Google and taking advantage of people that are just Googling up their problems or different solutions, right? And so obviously you can't just like slap your offer in their faces. So what I would do usually is a cold search campaign. I usually don't send people immediately to the product page. What I do instead is I make advertorials, listicles, just like on Facebook with a VSL ad, and warm up people and then send them to the product page. Works really well. You should definitely get into it. Now, only if you have these three campaign types profitably running and everything's fine, everything's cool, everything's good, then you should get into the more advanced campaign types like shopping campaigns and performance max campaigns. So shopping campaigns are campaigns essentially when you Google something, you see the pictures of them, the stuff that you see out there, that's shopping ads, okay? Google shopping campaigns are a very powerful campaign type, and usually if you do this right, if you look at like any big brands Google ad account, 80% of their spend runs on actual shopping campaigns. One thing which you have to keep in mind here is a shopping campaign doesn't work on creatives. Even though you have your image in there, you have different titles and headlines, all these things, you don't work off of creatives. What you actually work off of is your Shopify product settings. So what this basically does, it synchronizes with your Shopify and essentially just takes your Shopify product, so the first product picture and the actual title of the product, and takes that and shows that. And so obviously if you haven't optimized your title, if there's no keywords in there, or if your first product picture is weird, then it's going to look weird and people are not going to click on your shopping ad. And so this is actually when you start duplicating your product in Shopify, or just setting them up from scratch and just testing a bunch of different first product pictures and titles. And believe me, these things do make differences. And if you have a shopping campaign which is running profitable, which is scaling, insane. Okay. Now, PMax, Performance Max, is a campaign type which is kind of like an all-in-one solution of Google. So when they launched this, they wanted to replace all of these up here. And one thing which can and will happen to you if you launch a PMax, and it's, let's say it works, it has good assets in it, what's going to happen is all these other campaigns are going to drop in performance because this PMax is going to eat up all the keywords here and actually show these ads, what you have in here, instead of this. So PMax is usually when you start having campaign creatives, so like YouTube ads, whatever. And so what you got to keep in mind, right, when it comes to Performance Max campaigns is I typically build like a bigger and more expensive offer, separate offer, and then only launch Performance Max assets for that offer. Because essentially, this has two advantages really. First one is you can do this unlimited times, and if you only run it for your separate products, then you can only run or advertise that many like Performance Maxes, as many products you have. But if you have 10 bundles or 20 bundles or 30 bundles, even though you only have 4 products, you can launch an individual Performance Max each, and it's not going to impact the performance of this, right? That's the second advantage, because it just leaves all these other campaigns alone and it just does its own thing. And that's how a PMax really works. This was actually the whole entire campaign setup. It's not really complicated. It's not really difficult. What you do got to keep in mind is that, Google Ads actually benefits your Facebook traffic. And so this is really why I don't understand why no one's talking about it. I don't think people are gatekeeping this. I just think people actually don't know about this, actually have never tried Google Ads. So I encourage you to try it, because usually when no one's talking about something, when no one's doing something, when no one's looking at, that's where the opportunity is. And I'm telling you guys, Google Ads do work. Again, it sounds easy. Everything that sounds too easy to be true is probably not. You will have issues. You will have a ton of problems here with conversion tracking. You will have a ton of problems with turning, for example, your cold search or your shopping campaigns profitable. And it's not that easy as I, presented it just to be, but it is actually a very, very powerful traffic source. And there are brands that only really exist on Google. This is also what you can take from this video. There are literally brands that only have Google Ads running. You can search up a problem or search up a solution or whatever, they come up and you put their domain into the ads library and they literally have 0 active ads and they make a lot of money. And so Google is very powerful. A lot of people are using Google. A lot of searches happen every single day on Google. If you don't have any Google ads running, you're just missing out, especially on campaigns like this: brand search, competitor search. Every product I test, even on Facebook, right, I have a brand search automatically and a competitor search, because I just know that it can't be unprofitable. Like a brand search campaign, it just doesn't spend, okay? Google Ads, you pay for clicks. You don't pay for impressions, you pay for actual clicks. And so if no one clicks on your stuff, if no one sees your stuff, right, your keyword, which is only your brand name, if it has no demand, if there's no one looking for it, then you won't pay a single dollar for that campaign. So once it starts spending, then it's only going to be profitable. There's no way you have a brand search campaign which actually spends money that is unprofitable. Same thing for a competitor search, right? If you do this, if you then split up the right competitors that just work for you, that are just profitable, and then actually just have them running on a $50 budget or something, if they're spending a lot of money, obviously this is also retargeting. Again, it's not going to be unprofitable. And so everything is in the numbers. You pay for clicks instead of impressions. You don't have any creatives. It's all based off of headlines and keywords. And one more thing is there's a keyword planner in your ad account. So in your Google ad account, there's on the left on tools, when you click into your keyword planner, there's literally a tool which tells you exactly how many monthly searches a keyword is getting, what the CPCs are that you're going to pay, and how much competition that keyword has, and a bunch of other things like, what has been the last 3-month trend, has it, trending up, trending down, and how many percent. And you have to understand, this is a pretty powerful tool to be inside of your Google ad account. You don't have to pay for any other software out there. Google does this for you. You can just do keyword research in Google and you won't ever anywhere find more accurate data than on there. And find me one other ad platform that does this for you. And so you should absolutely look into Google. Now, Google is not going to save you. This is not a life raft, okay? So if you've never made money before on Facebook, TikTok, on organic, and you've been trying and you've just been trying to figure it out, this is not going to be the thing that's changing everything for you. But I've seen it again and again. People have been failing with their products on Facebook and on TikTok, and then when the second they hopped on Google, right, it just made Like it's worked for them. Okay, so I want to encourage you guys to try out new things. This is not only like specifically a Google Ads video. I want you to really think differently than everyone else. I want you to have your strategy, your specific stuff that works for you and for no one else, and that's when you make a lot of money. Because if you follow what everyone else is doing, you will make $0. And so try Google Ads. That's the main takeaway from this video, guys. I want to say thank you for giving me your time and your attention, which are truly your most important assets, and I wish you a beautiful day.